news travels fast in a small town, that the firemen were firing water cannons off. So the first block, 2 blocks, you didn't see any response, but by the time you got into the second, third, fourth block, there was a number of garden hoses that were strategically placed, and the firemen received the same benefit back of the cold water shower. Joanne and I spent pretty much the whole weekend, and I thank John for getting the float over, and we had many compliments on being the only other municipality that showed up to support the Mild May homecoming. So it had good reports on that. Yes, they had a tremendous, great weekend. The only glitch in their weekend was that the evenings got a little bit chilly down on the Ball Diamond. So the music and the fun, it heated up, but there was no emotions got heated up that we saw on the Ball Diamond. That kept things cool. But they had a great weekend, tremendous fireworks and the whole bit. It was good to see, or good to hear. I did not see, as the parade took over 2.5 hours from start to finish. Another participant didn't walk it, but was standing out there, Councillor Lawrence with the Durham girls, and then they did their tattoo afterwards. But yeah, just an overall a great weekend for them. The Elmwood homecoming was there with a float. Cargill was there, Wingham was there. So next year, if you're into homecomings, there's a lot of them going on. And I believe our next door neighbor Hanover is having one as well too. Carol.
I just wanted to say the weekend did go on. Seven of the Durham girls traveled with 40 of the Preston Scout House on Monday in a bus to Buffalo to see the Drum Corps International. And coming back through, driving from Kitchener back through Mild May at 4 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday morning, there were still people on the street, still out in their orange hoodies. And, so they did have a very full weekend. And I just want to say, yeah, I didn't march the road. I joined them for the concert, but we were really pleased to take part in that. And just so you know, on Saturday of this week, we're traveling to Kitchener, Waterloo, to take part in the Preston Scout House Tattoo, their 75th anniversary. We'll be joining them on the field to play together. You'll Never Walk Alone. And I have to say that's a very appropriate song because they've been most supportive to us. They have.
Tremendously supportive. There is one other fabulous activity coming up this weekend. I believe we have a judge within our midst, but you have some tickets here as well too. Abbey Field House's Rubber Ducky Race is on Saturday morning as well too. So if you get if you're fit enough to run the Colleen Lawrence Memorial Run in time and get across the finish line, you can jump in the vehicle and get across to Durham to watch the Rubber Ducky Race. And I don't know whether the judge, I know that this Eccles couldn't be bribed, but I don't know about a Councillor Eccles, if he's picking them out or not. Nope, he's shaking his head. You'll be dead last then. Okay. John, I think, is going to be one of the judges, and I say thanks to John for taking that. I'd been asked, but was going to be in the Colleen Lawrence and in Newstead, and I couldn't commit to being there just right on time. So John, thank you for taking that over and doing that, and look for great participation in the Ducky Race as well too in Durham. And if that wasn't enough, no, he's not going to do it now. Oh, turned them down.
Something else to do on Saturday.
Okay, well, I was promoting him as a judge, and now he's just a backbencher. Anyways, the race is on, and the Wellback Wood Show. I believe, is this weekend as well, too, on Friday and Saturday. So, many things to do within West Grey, as always. So, promote those. And that's about it. Anything else? Anybody else? Seeing none, I can give a small report. County Council yesterday projection put a couple of motions forward from County Council. One got defeated about trying to find a 0% budget, and the one that was passed was the target is a 1%. So Carrie, for some of your budgeting figures to be able to plug in that side that takes up about 35 to 40% of our taxes that we collect to go to the county, will go to the county. Staff there was directed yesterday to come in with something around a 1%. I do believe that some of us are looking for less than 1%, so we'll see where it comes in at as well too. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I'll close. Carol, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, from County Council, where are they on this delegation of, downloading the roads and so on? And has our comment gone in and been taken into consideration? And since we seem to be one of the municipalities getting the most roads back. And I hope that the delegation and downloading of roads isn't one of the things that's going to bring your budget down.
It certainly won't be this year. They're just getting the consultant right now, the lead consultant, Ray Buchanan, I believe is the gentleman's name. Backy. Thanks, John. Has left the company. So he was the lead, so they found a new lead. That's put them back a couple of months. So they're still doing work now on the culverts and bridges, and drawing up an idea on those, on putting proposals together for that. So that draft will be coming, was projected to be in November. So we probably won't see anything until looking now, late winter or early spring, before those recommendations are coming forward to County Council for consideration. There's certainly, around the decision-making table, is very little appetite at this point in time for much downloading. One thing that may come through is the connecting link through the urban areas to give more local control over, similar to what we have with MTO. And that seems to have some traction, and when it comes to development and whatnot, that it's a one stop for the developer. They don't have to go to the county to get an entrance permit and come to the municipality for zoning, and that conflict, as we have with, well, right now with Durham on Highway 6. We control things within the urban boundaries, and that's been something that's been promoted and seems to be taking some traction. But the idea of road downloading, but there's a lot that's taken the public eye of it. There's a lot more in there that takes up a very small portion of what the whole master plan is looking at, is where new roads should be, development, maintenance ideas as well too on the roads. So I think if we can get beyond that and get into it, there's a lot of good stuff there on the road, not just on the road rationalization, but on the overall delivery of service on the roads as well too, from a county perspective. But short part, we won't see anything until the spring on that. So, and that won't be affecting the budget as of yet. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else from county yesterday that was? Oh, yes, yeah. The county, for the first time, has received a request for a governance or service delivery proposal put forward by the Municipality of West Grey. Either they're great guinea pigs or leaders, I'm not sure which it is, on our county library system was talked about yesterday. So, and how that would evolve, the CEO has taken a position of doing research on it and going to deliver a paper back to County Council. I believe it was October was the date that was given for options pursuing a county library system or reciprocal card system or whatever comes out of it. So it'll be working with the CEOs of the municipalities or designated CEOs and the CEOs of the libraries as well too. So we'll see what comes out of that. There might be two very distinct streams there. So we'll see how Lance gets forward with that one. John?
Yeah, and just going along with that, it was in a conversation with the CEO of Gray. He said that has been in place in Simcoe since 1948. Not in its entirety in the whole county, but in the rural areas, this has played a major part in their library system. And I know Councillor Lawrence, through conversations with you, it's in place in Bruce. And but there seems to be some resistance for some reason as to the CAOs and CEOs in the library in Gray to make this work. But the CAO Lance is most willing to take this challenge on and to look at a way to make this happen. So he does have some experience in that. So it's good to hear.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see how that leads out. All right. There's nothing else from Mayor and Council on communications. Did you want to go to the reports? Yeah. Let's go down. I know we have a couple of delegations here, but we're not quite at that time, and individuals that are here, I don't think we have the press quite here yet, so I'd like to wait until we have a full audience for you, for Emily and Christine. So we'll let you get set up, and we'll go on to a couple of staff reports, and we'll start with Carrie. There's her staff reports there. Oops, blew on by. And the first one, Carrie, is your is the voucher approvals. Is there any questions on the vouchers? Councillor Eccles. John?
Page 17, there's a bill on here for the plaque for the bridge we just put up for $1,100. I thought that was $700 or $850 when it was first brought up. And while I've got the mic open, I've seen several bridges lately driving around through the countryside that they just put the little green sign up with the bridge name on it, and on the back side has the date. So you see the date and the name of the bridge as you drive back and forth through it, and I'm sure we could put it up for $110 and not $1,100.
Sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, after we sent the submission into the gas tax, or people for confirmation to get the sign approved for funding, they did make some modifications on it. It did cost an extra $100, so but it is eligible for gas tax funding.
I guess the question would be, Ken, to follow up from Councillor Eccles, could we go with his suggestion on the sign and see if that could be for $100 and then use that other $900 to extend a sidewalk or something someplace?
I guess we could have, but the sign has already been purchased.
We've got another 89 bridges out there. Maybe it's time for a couple more. Yeah.
Certainly another time we can
yeah.
go another route if council wishes, certainly, yeah.
Sounds like a good one, John?
It's just the brass or the sign we put up, they're beautiful signs, there's no doubt about it, but you actually have to stop and get out of the vehicle to read the thing, and I really wonder how many people actually do it. Whereas the other sign on the thing, it tells you what the bridge is and the date that was put up, you see it every time you drive through it, and I think people would have a better understanding of the bridges and the work that was done on them if they were reminded every time they drove through them instead of actually having to stop and get out of the vehicle.
Well, we've made it a 2-lane bridge, so now you can stop without any traffic problems? Okay. Any other questions on the accounts? John? Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can somebody, I guess, under other protection policing, a bill to the Durham Veterinary Clinic for June pound services by the OSPCA in the amount of $994. And I guess I was, Mayor Eccles, it was my understanding that they were going to cease service in this part of the world. So has that happened, or June 30th? Wait, it was the 30th. Okay, not the 1st. I had in my mind it was the 1st of June.
So they would have continued through June as of July 1st.
Okay, I just, this is a rather large bill, and I was just wondering about that.
We can follow up. You can see Carrie doing some work on it. What page is that on, John?
4,
4?
I think. Yep.
The other factor is we will see some of these going forward, and it may be from our police. We can have, and in my understanding, some of that would be recovered, but it may be the police themselves doing that and just putting it in as animal control, OAPSP, OS. PCA, thank you. Carrie?
Yeah, it was 4 animals by orders of West Grade Police that they were taken in.
So it wasn't.
Okay, so it was West Grade Police, that's fine, so it wasn't OSPCA, okay. That can get changed in the future then, thank you.
So just the way it's under their auspices, it's under that legislation, so we know. I think it allows us to keep a better track on what it is costing. Yep. And hopefully we can get a report back to council. Probably will be on a semi-annual basis or something like that as to what the cost and what our cost recoveries are as well too.
Yep, that'd be perfect.
Good. Fine with that, John. Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Marshall, Don.
At page 3, there's an invoice from Les McKinnon in here for $1,980 for legal. What was that for?
I've got I would think that was I'm almost positive that would be the legal action taken by, how do I say this without having to go into closed session? Yeah. From a local golf course and on their development.
Okay.
And that case has already been heard in front of was through the building code. It didn't go to a judicial, it's a judicial body from the building, and Mr. McKinnon's opinions and whatnot were upheld by the board. Okay, that's where that one comes from. No, not in this one. There wasn't cost. No cost could be awarded in this one. Okay. Any other questions or comments? And I know I've asked this question a couple of times before, Carrie, but we had there's a telephone at the town hall that cost us $99 or something like that. Is that because it's a business line? But I was wondering with Bell and Wightman and a couple of other services, everybody out there, I keep seeing advertising on bundling. Is there a chance to bundle that, or if we could? Yeah, the town hall was in at $99, so I know we have a fire hall right beside it, and the chief has a cell phone and phones, and I think it's a regular phone that's in there, Carol. I'm not sure about the payphone. Yeah. If it's not 50% of the people, I bet you it's 75% of the people have a cell phone on their hip and never use the phone anyway, so, you know, just because it has been there, is it something we need to continue to have there at $100 a month? Carrie?
I know we do need to have one with the nursery school being there for their certifications and that. We do have to have a landline in there, but we can certainly look at what other options might be.
Bev?
A number of businesses in Durham and surrounding areas have switched to a company, and I'm not sure what the company is, but their phone number now is 226. And the reason they've done that is because the commercial business lines were a quarter of the price of what Bell is. So maybe if we can, there must be options out there, because there's a number of them who are doing it.
Very good. No? Thanks, Carrie, for being able to look at that. Any other questions? John?
Well, just about the vouchers, this involves Ken maybe too, or Carrie can maybe answer this question. I see a couple of work boot allowances in the bills here. Can you just tell me, are they 100% covered as far as that, or how's that work?
There's an upset limit of $200 for work boots and clothing, I think it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
So are you saying that some of our guys that are spending $191 on boots are going to be naked out there most of the time? You don't have to answer that. So it's $200 on that as a yearly part. And for the work that they do, a good pair of boots is worth the price. Any other questions on the accounts as presented? If not, I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 14, 2013 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $556,082.19. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Okay, the next one is we have a letter from the Durham Art Gallery, Ilse Granger, for looking for support or contribution on the Common Pulse Film Festival. And staff is looking for direction on this. Any comments, questions? Carol?
Well, I just wondered, maybe Carrie can tell me on this, but we do give them a grant, I believe. Then we also give them money for the Fringe Festival, do we not?
Yes.
I
believe there's money in for the Fringe. No, I can't say for the Fringe Festival, but the Art Gallery definitely has a grant and is a institutional designation, or
With
they have the tax, non-tax.
The Economic Development Committee, they provide a grant to the Art Gallery. The Fringe Film Festival, I'm not sure how they're associated with the gallery, but it's a separate organization, and we do have in our budget for grants to organizations
To the
funds
Fringe.
for that, for the Fringe Film Festival, separate from the gallery's contribution.
I mean, I really support the art gallery, and I'd like that we financially support it, but I don't know if we can continue for every new program they come up giving new money. I would hope it would come out of the original grant we give them each year through economic development, but it's just my thought. I don't know where it ends.
This one, I believe, is a program for, if I'm not mistaken, disability, yeah, artists with handicaps. They're running it at the town. Some of it because the only hotel around or place to be able to board that has accessibility is the Walkerton, the Best Western in Walkerton, is where a number of the artists that have mobility problems and whatnot, they're being housed there. But most of the function they're using, I believe it is Smart Transit, to help them out getting back and forth, and running it here at the town hall, but through the art gallery. Any other comments on it? Staff is looking for direction. I haven't heard any quite yet. What have we got for direction here? Somebody come up with something. Bev, Councillor Cutting.
Well, I agree with Councillor Lawrence. It would also wipe out our entire budget for any sort of other programs that may apply that don't get, significant amount of support from council during financial situations. So I think we should encourage them with the project, but decline the request for financial support.
Okay, any other comments? John?
I would agree with that, and if staff can send back an appropriate letter declining our support at this time, respectfully declining, and yes, I agree with Councillor Cutting, we're only halfway through the year and we may need some of that money for some other project.
Okay. Carol?
Mr. Mayor, you just mentioned that it's going to be at the town hall, and I see it's the month of September. What about the other functions that go on, like the nursery schools there full-time starting September? You'd said they would be at the town hall.
That's what I understand, and I'm hoping that they've got it booked. I don't know whether it's through the day, or I believe it's on a weekend. It's a weekend function.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That was
Throughout,
the last.
like every month, every weekend in September. It says throughout the month of September.
I'm not that heavily involved in it, so yeah, I assuming, but can't say for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know an awful lot about it, but whether they have the art up there for 3 or 4, my understanding of it was that it was one weekend that the artist would be here doing workshops and whatnot. So maybe there is other weekends where they have the art on display as well too, for sale.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else on that one? So staff is fine, you're fine with that, Mark, for direction? Okay. Down, the next one was correspondence is on the council remuneration is there. And any questions on that? The fourth one would be the third quarter mileage reimbursement. I'm almost surprised, but it says it's down, so not certainly down the price of gasoline by an awful lot, but just enough to have a small reduction in the mileage paid for staff and council. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Any questions for Carrie? Carrie, do you have one question per certain you want to ask council?
Just a reminder to submit your timesheets if you can, please. I haven't got yours yet.
Need a little more work on that IT coordination, Deputy Mayor Bell?
Apparently I need to take a refresher course, yes.
We'll see if Carrie can set up a weekly tips thing. Friday afternoon training for you. Okay. All right. Thanks, Carrie. No, Carrie doesn't have anything else? No questions? She's getting out of here. Okay. Expect to see her running on Saturday in Newstead?
We tried to.
Good. I'll get you paired up with my sister. She's coming down from Espanola to run it as well, too. No, she's not running from Espanola. She's going to drive down and then run here. Well, yeah, could be a triathlon. You'd have to swim part of the way to get from Espanola directly to here. Okay, there's nothing else then for Carrie. We're a few more minutes until we get to delegations, so I'll move on to the infrastructure and public works. Ken, first one is the Highway 6 connecting link. I have a bylaw, and is there any questions on the bylaw on that connecting link? Very similar to what MTO was giving us before. IMOS has taken over. Not a heck of a lot of differences from year to year.
No, this is, excuse me, this will be IMOS' second year at maintaining the connecting link through Durham, and they've held the price the same as the 2012-13 winter season, so they've done a good job at maintaining particularly the hill there at coming up the north side of Durham. So no, I think it's a good contract for West Gray, because it allows us to just remain with the one crew rather than having to provide 24-hour service for the connecting links.
Excellent. Okay, if there's no other questions on that, then that'll come up as the bylaw. New water supply well. Committee of the Whole meeting, we had a presentation from our engineering firm, contracted Genevar, and Committee of the Whole has recommended inviting quotes to proceed with the drilling of a test well. Any questions or comments that you've come up with since Committee of the Whole? Don, Councillor Marshall.
Just keep thinking about the numbers that they give us, that we only use about 1,000 cubic meters a day, and we are producing about 1,700 cubic meters a day in our two wells, but we're shooting for a high of 2,100. And it just seems like there's a flaw in the system there, that we're drilling a new well and supposedly spending $750,000 to meet that standard, when we should be looking at other options to, if we had a major water main break, there should be some way to either shut the water off at the water towers, that we don't lose all our water for a day or two, and be like Meaford and go on a restricted water supply usage for a week. It just seems to be a flaw in what we're producing, what we have to produce to meet that once in a 5-year incident that we'd lose our water.
Carol? Councillor Lawrence?
Mr. Mayor, I think it was clearly explained that our problem is if our number one well went down, we cannot supply the town of Durham with our number one well, or with our number two well. It's being more proactive than reactive here. We weren't talking a water main break so much, Don. It was if that well went down, number one, we can't feed the town in case of fire, and even to the people. I mean, what would you do for a week without water for the town? Because we're only getting, what, 700 and something from two? So that's the whole idea about it. I mean, this has been known for a few years. We're aware of it. We need to do something about it. For one, safety. Health and safety is water. You got to remember that.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, and I agree with you, Don. I don't particularly like it, but I think the problem has been identified, and when a problem's been identified and you don't act on it, you are held liable for things that could happen after the fact. If something ever happened after the fact, and if is like insurance, but if something happened and we weren't cognizant of the fact, recognizing that we could have fixed it and we didn't, I dare say we would be liable. If the well went down for any reason, for any length of time, obviously there would not be able to be business being done at places like Durham Furniture. That could not be done, and I guess toilets wouldn't be able to run, and we would run into a whole lot of problems. So with that idea, I think we have to be safer instead of sorry after the fact. I certainly wouldn't want to be at this table and somebody identified to me that we could have fixed the problem and not have something done about it. So I think this is the first stage to go forward with a $45,000 exploratory well. That well up there, I do remember the figures. It is gradually filling in, I guess, Ken, because it is getting a little slower all the time. We do have some cracks in the fragmented rock that are filling in through time with sulfur and all that kind of stuff. We tried to get them apart a little while ago and they're not moving, so I think we have to move forward and put the well. So I'll deflect to you.
Yes, that's correct, Deputy Mayor Bell. We did have the contractor come in and try to open up the well cracks, and it wasn't successful, and it's gradually slowing down the flow of water at well number 2, so definitely need a backup.
Bev?
Yeah, and I do
Councillor Cunning?
believe that Rakesh identified the problems in Meaford and said that if they had fixed them a couple of years ago when they were identified, that whole scenario would not have happened. And I think we need to learn from mistakes of municipalities, or errors, or whatever you want to call them, probably misjudgment. But we need to be proactive with what we have to do.
Okay. And we don't want to experiences. Good judgment comes from experience. Experience always comes from bad judgments. Anyways, we'll deal with other people's bad judgment and learn from their experiences. Any other questions or comments on this one? I think where we may be able to find, Councillor Marshall, if we can find the water, I think we can find considerably more savings in how to produce that water than what was given to us the other day. I'm going to certainly challenge our engineers on exploring one well and not, I think he had a couple of other options in there as well too that were ramping up the cost to that $750,000. So we will have to have those other options in there that are going to dramatically bring this costing down. But we got to find whether we can find the water first and then go forward from there. All right, no other questions. I have a motion moved by John A. Bell and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby accepts the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole to drill a new exploratory supply water well along with the step test on the municipal property at 545 George Street East, former town of Durham, under the direction of Genevar Engineering at an approximate cost of $45,000. Any questions or comments on the motion? Go ahead, Bev.
What is exactly a test well? Why don't they just, is the drilling into the rock to test to see if there's water there and it's $45,000? I mean, I know it was probably explained, but it just seems like you hear people drilling wells all the time in their homes for home construction, and it's nowhere near $45,000, and it's an actual well. So,
And on occasions, you'll find that those wells, whoops, they didn't hit water, or they hit bad water. And I think that's why I know that's why Genevar is saying this is a test. They're hopeful, they're not guaranteeing, which engineers are pretty good at, of saying, well, we can't guarantee anything, you know. But this is just a test.
But it's on the same property as the other well, so.
And you know, they're pretty sure that there's water there, but they're not going to stick their neck out 100% and say, yep, this is the well, we'll drill it and it'll be perfect. So it is a test. I think we're very hopeful that it's, 99%, yep, we're going to hit water, but it is a considerably bigger than what you would at a residential for that production. And then there is the testing of it that we need to go forward to, will it produce the water that we're requiring?
Yeah, the gallons per minute or whatever.
Yep.
So the 45,000 is actually to Genevar. That includes the drilling of the well. So the well drilling, is that correct, Ken?
Yeah, that includes the price of the well
test
drillers,
well.
yes.
Okay.
The drilling, the testing.
Testing, water testing,
Yeah.
future testing. Is this the same property where the sulfur is?
No.
Okay, it's a completely different thing. Okay.
Yes. Okay,
Yep.
all right.
I'm not happy, but.
Was that something new that you were putting out there?
Yes, this is
Oh.
new. I'm
Oh,
not.
okay.
Tim Hortons needs water too.
Oh, I'm for
Oh,
it.
now she's for it. Good point. Had to find that point. All right. Any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? So noted, Don. That is carried. There you are, Mark. Okay. Any other questions of Ken? Ken will be around for a little bit. All right. We will go back to our... What? Okay, John, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Ken, is the hydro gravel finally all gone, or did they get that done?
Yes, the hydro gravel was completed last Monday, like a week ago, last Monday, yes. We're finished with hydro.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Okay. We have two delegations this morning. Tried to keep us on time so everybody would be here. Ms. Wepler, you are the first one. Emily, thank you for coming out, and you have a proposal on a FIT project. There is a podium and a microphone over there. I know that your voice doesn't need amplification, but if you could use that, it would certainly help out with the cameras and everything there, if you're okay with that.
Maybe it would have been easier.
Yeah.
Button to your right. All right.
And the microphone, there's a button on the right. There'll be a red light come on the top of the mic if you hit the right button. You've got it. So welcome this morning, Emily, and you want to talk to us about a solar fit projects.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Emily Wepler. I own property located at 121418 Concession 8 in Normanby Township. This property is subject to all real property taxing authority of this municipality. I'm here today to obtain council support for the HAFE Solar Fit application underlying the construction of a new farm building and solar installation on my property. The specifics of the building and solar installation are set forth in the handout I provided with my package of materials. Please note that the support I am seeking at this meeting is preliminary in nature. It is an indication of support for a project concept that is a precondition of the filing of the FIT application under the Ontario FIT program. Your support of the Hay Solar FIT application does not mean that this council approves the design or structural integrity of the farm building or the location of the building on my property. Assuming receipt of a FIT contract from the OPA, Hay Solar and I will seek all the required municipal permits and approvals necessary to locate and construct the farm building project on my property. Thus, you can be assured that the farm building project will be constructed in accordance with all municipal and provincial regulations. Personally, I desire the Hay Solar Project building to move forward on my property because it will enhance the efficiency and productivity of my farming operations. The farm building will provide me with a high-quality farm building structure containing approximately 1,040 square meters of storage, which I can use for my own personal business. I feel the council should be supportive of the Hay Solar FIT application for the solar farm building on my property because, unlike many other types of renewable projects under the FIT program, the farm building will generate additional property tax revenues for the benefit of the municipality. The Hay Solar project will involve an investment in excess of $500,000 by the company on my property. Of this amount, approximately only $110,000 relates to the cost of the building itself. It is estimated that the new building will generate approximately $400 per year in additional property tax revenues. The additional property tax revenues generated by the construction of the Hay Solar Farm building will help support essential municipal services that will benefit all residents of the local community. In summary, the Hay Solar project will be constructed on my property, will benefit a direct financial benefit to the municipality well into the future. The farm building project that underlies the FIT application will also help the local economy. For example, it is likely that many of the farm building construction materials will be purchased from local suppliers and local labor will be used to construct the structure. In light of the financial benefit to the municipality resulting from the construction of the Hay Solar Farm building on my property, I respectfully request that this council support the FIT solar application underlining the Hay Solar Farm building project and execute the municipal council support resolution provided with my materials. I'm also standing for 5 other farmers for their buildings all in West Grey, which this was all supplied with my material. So thank you very much for hearing my proposal. Would there be any questions?
Thank you, Emily, and you're very keen on taking questions, are you?
Yes, if you want to. Be nice, Kevin.
Any questions from Mrs. Wepler? Oh, got a few hands up down here. John Eccles first. Councillor Eccles.
You represent 5 other farm properties. Are any of these properties going to have, how do I put this? Is any individual going to have more than one of these buildings?
Per property?
No, not per property, but is one person going to have 3 or 4 of these?
One person, one company, farm company will have 2. The properties are approximately 15 kilometers apart. There's 2 farms that they own, so they're for storage capabilities. They need them on the different properties, and that would be Joandale Farms from Ayton.
They just seem like awful big buildings to have that many, more than one. Just a point of curiosity.
My own personal business is I'm a hay and straw broker, and so for me, the majority of these people are also my clients. So the hay and straw would be, a lot of it would be stored in these buildings until transport. But for also, the buildings themselves are the farmers choose what they want to do with their own buildings. This requires only 1 acre of the land on any given property, so it's not taking a lot of good farm land. The majority of the places that these have been GPS to be on the properties themselves are negligible or wetter part of a field.
Okay.
John? Deputy Mayor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Emily, these are all going to be new buildings then?
Yes, they are.
Yes, and for that reason, myself, I would be in support of this, recognizing it's for agricultural benefits in West Grey, recognizing that I think that's where solar should go, is on the roof of new buildings, given a stamp of approval by engineers, by our own building official, and moving forward with that, I think it's a good idea, and I think this is a lot better idea than solar panels covering farmland, which we've had a couple other applications in the neighborhood for, so I would be in support of it.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Carol.
Well, I'm just
Councillor
looking
Lawrence.
at the templates, Mr. Mayor, and they mention lands in Hanover, Clifford, and Priceville. I assume those are RRs, lying in West Gray, or?
Yes, they are, ma'am. They're all in West Gray. The Clifford, actually, Mrs. Hershey is here, and that would be her property. It is right on the line, but it's on our side of the line.
So,
Where the one road
Right.
separates the two counties.
so in other words, they lie in West Gray, but your mailing address must be Clifford or Priceville or Hanover. Is that what it is?
Yes, and the Priceville one is 3.4 kilometers on our side of Priceville. So it is in, or on the sign that says "Welcome to West Gray," it's like 3 kilometers in our county.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know whether we could change that just to say they're in West Gray or something like that. Not that we don't like our neighbors.
Maybe
or
to an
anything like
RR, so it's clear.
I don't
Rural
know the
road.
addresses.
that. But the road address and I think the civic addressing in there is all, they're all in West Gray.
And I believe Mr. Turner did check the addresses that I provided to him, that they were all in our community.
Yep, they're all in the municipality. Any other questions of Emily or thoughts? Councillor Eccles, John?
I don't have a picture of this, but they're very similar to the big red buildings that are just north of Tiviotdale or the one that's on the County Road 3. Very similar looking buildings.
Closer to the one on County Road 3. The ones in near Tiviotdale are a little bit of a, they're more like a bit of a different design of them. It's a different company. Those came from Holland, and it's a different whole structure as opposed to the Hayes Solar. I've been working with this company for since the FIT application was offered, and with the restructuring of the FIT program and grandfathering these 6 buildings to the original, the applications went into the OPA for these before the changes of July 4th a few years ago. So this is just to follow up on the requirements for the OPA. I do have a list of the different jurisdictions that we have approached. I have 54 different municipalities and counties and cities that have signed this resolution, understanding it by no way ties our council to anything, just the idea has merit for our municipality, which is the only thing the resolution does read as. Anything else would be done accordance 100% to the letter of the law and bylaws and state and county taxes and everything. So this is just a step 1 with the OPA, that they now require that you have recognition from your council that this is something that is going forward.
Just on a word technicality, it's not a requirement, but it
It's a request.
supports
Yes.
the application and gives you
Yes.
more points in the system.
Yes, sir.
If you don't have it, it's not likely you'll get the contract, but it's not a requirement. It's just great to
A
have that
request.
support. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Mark, you got technical?
Emily, the facts you sent, and I got from a staff member, I have 5 proposed resolutions, but you've mentioned twice about 6.
Oh, I'm
Yourself
sorry.
and 5.
No, it is 5, I'm
It is
sorry.
5, good,
Yes.
thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Any other questions of Emily while she's here? Now, we can deal with this, what's at the request of council? You want to think about it, or you want to deal with it right now? I'm here and have at it. Mr. Bell, is that what you're going to suggest?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
move support for the application. We have supported another application which took in solar panels on posts and taken up land. This is solar panels, like I said before, I think this is where they should be, on new buildings with stamps, engineer's approval, building officials' approval, recognizing you can't put them on 100-year-old barns. But these are new buildings. They will enhance the township. And I also think that we have discussed around this table the idea of supporting small business and their valuable, I guess, shall we say, contributions to the municipality. But it isn't a big company coming in, it is individual owners that are gonna receive the benefit and the pay for these solar panels. So that's the reason I am support for that.
Thank you, sir.
Just if I could, while I'm getting the, sounds like the resolution's going to be signed here going forward. Does the company themselves contract that out? You mentioned about labor and whatnot. What is it, local builders, developers
Yes.
that they would contract
Yes.
to construct the buildings?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I have a motion moved by John A. Bell and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey authorizes the Mayor and Clerk, Acting CEO, to sign resolutions number 24013 to 24413, supporting in principle the 5 rooftop solar power facilities proposed by Hay Solar Holding, ULC. Any questions or comments on this motion? Oh, no, we'll get your signature on there too, as well as mine. You want somebody with authority, Mark? Okay. One other just little question.
Of course.
This morning, was reading that there's a proposal for a situation in one of our local municipalities where they're going to be storing electricity from these green energy. There's a company that's building or designing a system to store energy to be able to put it back out into the grid when it's in demand. Do you know anything?
These buildings are engineered with the internal transformer to immediately go onto the grid. There's no
Yeah.
storage capabilities at this point. Whether it would be in the future, I don't know, but as it stands now, it would be with the transformers, the inverters, directly back onto the grid.
And with that, it was just very little information that I was able to garner from it, but apparently, I don't know whether they're taking energy and storing it there. You know, I don't know, but I thought that was very interesting because it's one of the big points on solar and
I will bring
wind
that up.
energy and whatnot, you know. When do you have it? It's being produced at times you don't need it, and how do you store it and get it fed? And it seems that this company is coming in, from the understanding, it was a local, one of our neighboring municipalities that the company is going to propose to develop this energy storing center of some sort or another. So I'd like to follow up on that and see where we're going with that. Sorry, any other questions on the motion? I've deviated slightly. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. And yeah, we'll get those signed. We'll get the copies and whatnot and get them signed and try and get them back to you, a copy of them very shortly. Okay, thank you. Okay. We have one more delegation this morning. And where did Christina go? Oh, there she is. I've been looking at you in that chair for most of the morning. Sorry, you've moved on me. Where did you go? Christine Ferrand? Yeah. Christine Ferrand wants to speak about pollinator patches, wildflowers on our roads, and I guess Reader's Digest version would be a bee habitat you want to create. So, Christine? Okay. Well, we'll give you just a couple of seconds to get together there.
Thank you. Just one.
thanks. Yeah. Huh.
Still not working right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder if you just use that one there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Christine.
Yeah.
Christine, you can use that mic one.
You don't,
Yeah. Good thinking.
those mics are very sensitive, so you really don't have to, yeah. Yep, you can just sit there right the way you are and it'll pick it up. Okay, go ahead.
I'm Aaron Hughes,
Okay.
and so we are from the Friends of Pollinators. This is our little logo here. You can do the thing there. So we are a group of local citizens who have come together to address the pollinator health in our region. Our goal is to raise awareness about the extent of the crisis for pollinators whose existence is diminishing and in danger of extinction. In the case of the rusty patch bumblebee and also the yellow-banded bumblebee. We regard increasing documentation of the decline of pollinators in West Grey and the surrounding areas as a serious matter requiring immediate measures. Our proposal today is regarding the establishment of pollinator patches. These are areas where native plants flourish and provide invaluable nesting sites as well as nectar and pollen sources for bumblebees and native pollinating insects. I'm going to continue despite the slides. So it has been well documented that the honeybee has suffered major declines in the last few years. This phenomenon has been deemed colony collapse disorder, or CCD. The main symptoms of CCD are that hives are almost completely empty of worker bees, yet still contain living queen and immature bees. And that there are no dead bees around the hive. This is very strange behavior because the bees are social insects and their lives revolve around the hives. The first report of this sharp decline of honeybee colonies appeared in the eastern United States around March 2007. Although 10 to 20% of colony losses is expected, especially during winter, the losses suffered over the past 7 years are highly unusual, with beekeepers reporting 30 to 90% of colony losses. Since then, honeybee colonies in 35 American states, 5 American provinces, and several European and Asian countries have been affected with this mysterious bee illness. Expert scientific research has brought to light many possible factors and stresses that could be causing colony collapse disorder. The Canadian Association of Professional Apiculturists released a statement on colony collapse disorder saying the effects of migratory beekeeping practices, nutritional deficiencies, the effect of known and unknown pathogens, parasitic mites such as varroa, the lack of genetic diversity among breeding stock, and the effect of systemic pesticides and improper use of mite control products. One or a combination of these factors may cause colony collapse disorder. Lesser known but equally important are the massive decline of native pollinators such as solitary bees, flies, butterflies, moths, wasps, beetles, hummingbirds, and even bats. Multiple studies around the world have given cause for concern about the declining pollinator populations. In the US, the National Research Council has reported noteworthy losses, both of managed and wild pollinators. Again, listing habitat loss, pesticide use, disease, parasites, and the spread of invasive species as the cause of these declines. In Europe, parallel declines of pollinators and flowering plant diversity has been documented, threatening the pollinator communities. Threats to the pollinator communities affect not only pollinators themselves, but natural ecosystems and agricultural productivity. Focusing on agriculture, 87 of the world's 124 most commonly cultivated crops are insect pollinated, and insect pollinated forage crops such as alfalfa and clover for feed for livestock. Roughly 35% of the global food production is dependent on pollination by insects. Agriculture and Agriculture Food Canada has estimated that the value of honeybee pollination in Canada is more than $1 billion a year. And here in Grey County, pollination plays a critical role in our agricultural sector, pollinating field crops such as canola, fruits and vegetables, and dairy, and most notably an apple industry worth $15 million. Pollinators also sustain the wildland plant communities that provide food and shelter for myriad other wildlife. Pollinators, plant pollination by insects is essential to human health, global food security, and protection of biodiversity. Pollinating insects are at the heart of a healthy environment. So we want to be a part of the solution. Loss of habitat, as I mentioned, ranked among the top culprits. From a pollinator's eye view, a lot of landscapes would look like a food desert. Huge corn and soybean fields with no hedgerows, roadsides which are mowed and sprayed right up to the ditches, estate lawns without a food source in sight, and urban areas with asphalt and concrete and hybridized ornamental flowers with no pollen and no nectar. So we want to help diminish the stresses on the pollinators by addressing the issue of creating habitat and awareness for these pollinators. So what do pollinators need? Firstly, pollinators need to be recognized as vitally important throughout our rural and urban landscapes, both for their role in human food production and in maintaining healthy natural ecosystems. Secondly, pollinators need food in the form of a variety of nectar and pollen-rich plants available throughout their foraging period. Thirdly, pollinators need suitable undisturbed nesting sites close to their forages. And lastly, all pollinators need to be protected by reducing the use of pesticides in all contexts. These needs can all be addressed with minimal effort by landowners on their land, whatever the size or location of the land. Pollinator pathways and pollinator patches are small and large gardens that are popping up all over North America with the express purpose of helping honeybees and native pollinators. So I'm going to turn it over to Christine just to give you guys a quick sort of nuts and bolts summary of how a pollinator patch would come together. Do you want some of these? Do you want to try some of this?
Okay, anyhow.
So you'll just point at me when you need to.
Do you want, okay, sure, we can do that.
Or are you going to sit here and do it?
I was thinking, yeah. Okay. So, first of all, I want to thank West Grey, because as I was driving around looking for potential sites where we could create these pollinator patches, a lot of them were already taken up by gardens, which was great. I think West Grey Parks and the Horticultural Society are doing a great job with the gardens. Our proposal is to increase the native plants that are in these gardens, because these are the plants that really provide the nectar and pollen for the native pollinators. And so I also want to thank Carol Dunk, who provided us with part of her PowerPoint. She has successfully created pollinator patches in the city of Barrie, working with the councillors in Barrie. And so that is where this comes from. I have no doing in putting this together. So this is the roadsides in parts of eastern United States.
And then these are the roadsides in Ontario. Okay, so our long-term goals are to create roadsides that have lots of habitat and food and nectar, pollen for pollinators. So our proposal is to, as you'll notice in the sheet that we gave you, we have 3 different locations that we have considered, and we're open to any other locations that you might have that have some visibility so that we can create awareness amongst others, and people can take this project and instead of the NIMBY that we're used to, it can be the IMBY in our backyards, what people can actually create in their backyards. So at this point, 3 of the locations that we're looking at would be the place that's already prepared in front of the community center. And I have been speaking with Patricia Black and Steve Earhart from the Parks Committee, and they're both very, very keen and receptive to the idea of, you know, plants that are native plants being planted in this garden. I also spoke with Carol Freeman from the Horticultural Society, and she's very open to the annuals that are now planted around the Vickers Park gazebo being transformed into perennial native plants. So I feel like their support is essential, and they're very, very interested in what we're doing. Apart from that, the other location that we're considering is the boulevards in front of the medical center or the hospital. So just the area between the road and the sidewalk. And there's also a little sloping area in the parking lot across from the art gallery at the middle dam there. That could be transformed into a nice pollinator patch as well. So it doesn't have to be big. It could be 10 by 15 or 10 by 20 feet. And we're also working with private landowners. So our goal is to have pollinator patches spread throughout West Grey. You know, not just necessarily in the town of Durham, but throughout the entire municipality. So what we are hoping is to get your support and be able to move forward with these projects. These slides would have gone well with Aaron's presentation, but this is some of what is happening to areas where pollinators may have been, okay, because of construction and urbanization. Some of their habitat is being lost. So we want to recreate places where the pollinators can thrive. Okay, so we need a pollen source, a nectar source, and a place to live, so a nesting spot. Okay, even just clumps of grasses are healthy places for pollinators to thrive. So this is a little bit of what Carol Dunk had created in Barrie. Okay, we may do something similar or different, but she started off with just a site and, you know, some topsoil, had it dumped. She did a lasagna garden. You know, we may do something a little different, but she just put down newspaper, soil over top, lots of volunteer labor. We have a lot of people who are really keen on supporting this project in all the different ways, hands-on, getting their hands right in the soil. We have quite a few supporters in the room here. And last night we had a screening of Vanishing of the Bees at the town hall. We had 105 people come. So it was pretty packed. And that just shows the interest that is out there for what is happening right now to our pollinators. We've also thought about this being a project that high school students could use some of their community service hours towards. So not only just setting it up, but helping maintain the site. Okay, so then there's the plants. There is funding available from a couple different sources that specifically fund these types of projects. There's the Biodiversity Education and Awareness Network, there's the TD Friends of the Environment, and there's also Pollinator Canada. So we feel like we would be able to acquire the funds that we would need to go forth. Your support would be really helpful in acquiring those funds as well, as partnerships are always looked upon very well when you're applying for funds. Build it and they will come. So if you plant those native plants, the pollinators will come. I've witnessed this in my own gardens, and yeah. And the other thing is that native plants, I'll move on, are quite beautiful. There's different ways to plant so that you're creating not only habitat, but you're creating pollen and nectar from early spring to late fall. That is the goal. And these are some of the natives that could be planted there. There's an extensive list, but it would be a combination of shrubs, ground cover, flowers, just a wide variety of plants that would create that habitat that they need and the food that they need. Okay, so as you can see, native plants are quite beautiful. It's not a question of just planting weeds, it's a question of planting flowers that will provide their food. We have those. So what we would propose is to enter into a contract agreement with you that we would prepare, plant, manage the site for a few years until it is established. And like I said, we have lots of bodies that are quite keen to work on these pollinator patches. Let me see what particularly the site in front of the community center, since it's been quite prepared, and there's huge areas that are mulched there that just don't have any plants in them. And when I was speaking with Patricia from the Parks Committee, she basically said it's ready to go in a couple of weeks. We want to turn it over again, and she hasn't yet ordered plants, and she's very, very keen. She couldn't make it this morning, but I can see a really incredible partnership there between the Parks Committee and our group. What we think we would do is, if we were to start new patches, we would prepare the soil in the fall, and we would get ready to plant it in the spring. And that is when some of our funding would come in as well. So it could be two stages. The places that are already prepared, we could start to plant now, and other places that would need preparation, we would do the preparation now and plant in the spring. Just trying to think if there's anything else. We would also erect a sign at each of these pollinator patches describing who we are and, why this pollinator patch is there, just so that the awareness would build, and encouraging people to do the same thing in their backyards or front yards or side yards. So this is what we could look like all along our roadsides. So this is just the beginning really for us, is the start, and we would love to have West Grey support us, and then we could move on. We would like to go to the town of Hanover, and we plan to talk to Grey County Council as well, and start doing more along the roadsides as well as, just little patches in front of municipal owned buildings. But we want to talk to Grey County and eventually the province to do some along Highway 6 as well, because there's lots of these mowed patches that could turn into quite healthy pollinator patches. Oops. Lots of room under that expansion of hydro poles that have just gone up in our area. Okay. This is just encouraging farmers to keep their hedgerows up, as that creates a lot of pollinator habitat. Some community gardens that are in place. So this is, this is our goal, is to create these gorgeous, beautiful pollinator patches. And I think, as we know, our area is so connected to agriculture, and we have had lots of our farmers, beekeepers, and orchardists suffering from the lack of pollinators. So this is a small step in the right direction. We're not assuming that this is going to cure everything, but it shows that there are things that we can do. And I'm just going to find the this one, oh, it's not here. Sorry, hold on. Pardon my lack of, okay, so I just was gonna read this. So you can make a difference. There's a story of a father and his small son walking along a beach. It happened that on the very day a batch of sea turtles were hatching. As the hatchlings emerged and began their run to the sea, seagulls swooped and picked them off in great numbers. The little boy bent, picked up one small turtle and walked with it to the surf. He gently placed the tiny turtle into the sea. When he returned to his father's side, his father said, "That won't make a difference to anything." The little fellow nodded toward the surf and said, "It made a difference to him." Our little pollinator patch won't change the world, but it will make a difference to one area of the world. So we're asking for your support to help us make that difference.
Very good. And I apologize for not, some of my technical problems as well, too. I didn't find the invitation until 7:49 last night when I found the invitation to get to the town hall.
Right.
So I would have loved to have been there, but anyways, I'll take that up with my IT specialist that put that into a different folder than it should have been. And I apologize. It would, I think there should be more than a few questions, and I have a couple. If you would be happy, Christine or Alan, to take them. Deputy Mayor Bell. John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, thank you for the presentation. Aaron, to you, very well done. I am in agreement with most of what you have said. Being a farmer, I understand, and this is a major problem. There's no two ways about it. And I salute you for being part of the solution and not, griping at government or whatever, but you want to do something yourself in not only West Grey, but Grey County, and I salute you for that. The one thing I was just wondering about, can you comment on, I guess, the idea that you want to put them beside the arena, the hospital, and the art gallery, recognizing those are well-traveled areas with people. Can you comment on, I guess I'm thinking of maybe bee stings, allergic reactions, those kind of things. I have some property I would love to see you have you come in and look at in the country to put some of these in, but just recognizing the urban area, how does that fit, and comment on bee stings, please.
Maybe I will go up to the podium.
Do you want to?
Do you,
I'm not sure I have a sufficient answer for that one.
It's a good question. I think there's a fear about bee stings. Maybe even one of our apiculturists could help us out with this question. But my understanding is that bees will not sting you unless they're feeling very threatened. And it's not all bees that will sting. This isn't necessarily going to be attracting just bees. It will be all kinds of native pollinators. It's my understanding that, even at home, I have bees everywhere, and I never get stung. We only ever get stung by wasps, and that's in the mailbox. I have a massive, massive flower garden. It's about 100 feet long on both sides, about 5 feet wide. And I have lots of native plants in there, and my kids run. We park our car, we go to the house. Nobody's ever been stung. And we play in the flowers all the time. We're in there all the time. I don't know if one of our beekeepers has maybe a better...
Bees don't go out to sting people for the sake of stinging, because if they do sting and they die. That's their life. Anything they sting is a mammal, they die. Bees are out there to do a job. They're the pollinate, suck nectar, suck the pollen. If you go out there and you decide to pick it up and squeeze it, yeah, I think anybody would kick back if someone tried to grab us too. But no, bees are not out there to sting you. They're out there to do the job, and they're very friendly. Bees are very friendly insects, believe it or not. They're very sociable too.
Nathan will...
Last question from me anyways. So recognizing that you have 3 places in Durham picked out, Well, I guess, and we have a very good parks committee that do a number of this, and you were talking to Trish and everything. I don't see any country properties on here, and I'm thinking of various parks that we have in the country, being the Junior Farmers Park south of Ayton, being the Bennick Park, different areas also in town that maybe aren't in a concentrated area. If you comment on that, because I know that we have lots of properties I think that could or would work. Ken, there's probably some areas in the country. I would, with your approval, on the roadside, make a spot for them, but I'm not sure if that works, but I think it's better than some of the stuff we have on the roadside now.
We would like for the first project to be somewhere visible so that we can start that awareness building. But we are very open to these rural country sites and the parks. I was actually considering those sites. We would like to do both, but we would really also like to have a visible location so that we can increase the awareness about this issue it's very serious, and that people can then bring these projects to their own yards. We're going to do lots of other awareness building activities and workshops and whatnot, such as we have one planned for August 24th at Gary Kenny's farm. It will be a workshop on creating pollinator patches. Carol Dunk will be coming to offer a presentation. And we have had one in May that was very well attended. I think we had 55 people there. Yeah, I was going to say 60. So, and then last night's presentation was also a huge awareness building, but we would like it to be in a place where people will be around. I mean, the parks are great as well, but of course a lot more people will be going to the community center than to the Bentic Parks. And so we want something that's visible for one of our first projects. But we are definitely open to the country properties as well. I mean, it's not necessarily any different than all the parks that are there now, and I don't know if you've had any complaints about bee stings from the flowers that are there. It's not something that I see as a big concern.
Thank you.
You know, Nathan was going to add something earlier. I don't know if you...
If I may make a comment on the question?
Sure.
I'm Gary, I'm part of the Municipality group. This pollinator patch will be attracting many different kinds of pollinators, not just honeybees. Honeybees will be the most likely insect to sting you because they're a colonial insect. They have a high mentality, but all of these solitary bees and bumblebees, they don't sting you unless you literally like grab them and shake them in your fist. They're not aggressive bees. So while we think about honeybees and we think about them as, what we associate pollinators, the majority of the species that will be coming to these pollinator patches are far, far, far less aggressive than a colonial type insect.
Okay. Carol, Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly agree with the concept. I know we've talked around the table here about the problem with bees and the loss of bees, and I certainly think it's a great concept. However, I surely do not support your first two areas in front of the hospital and the clinic and in front of the community center. I mean, when you look at the pictures, and they're lovely and they're native, but they're tall and they're how can I say this, take some care. Those are areas actually that the Parks Committee have prepared. They have plans for those. I would rather see you go perhaps to the new area that's being developed to the just east of Durham, the new park that's being developed at the tennis courts, just south of the tennis courts, or possibly this one on the by the Middle Dam, where there now is not a garden. But I think it's important, Mr. Mayor, that this group, before anything is done, that they work and meet with our Parks Committee, because they are overseeing and doing all of our parks and our flower gardens and so on. And rather than somebody, one group going this way and another one going this way, they need to coordinate and meet together. And I thought we were talking about roadsides, because on the note on our agenda and your slides there talks about roadsides, which I think is great. The other thing that concerned me, you say at the back you're prepared to enter into a contract and establish your responsibilities on different things, site preparation and so on. removing weeds and watering until the patch is established. So I'm thinking if it's in front of the hospital or in front of the arena and it's established, then are you expecting the municipality then is going to continue to water it and weed it? Because in those two areas, you can't just let it grow wild.
What we're expecting is for the plants to spread and establish themselves such that weeds won't really be an issue. The watering, I suppose if there was a year of drought, we would continue to water, but once plants are very established and their roots are there, they can survive. These are native plants that are meant to survive such things as a small drought, you know.
Mr. Mayor, just although you say they're friendly, the bees and so on, I happen to be one of the people that have an allergy. I've been told by doctors to stay away from flower gardens. I carry an EpiPen plus other medication, and if I get stung, I have 5 minutes or I'm dead. So there is a concern in those very public areas. I think you never know if a kid's going to grab one or something like that. And I certainly support the concept. I think it's great, and we need to establish. I mean, if we have no bees, we have no pollination, we have no food. It's important. But I think in the proper locations, and I certainly could not support the first two that are listed there.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Eccles, and then back to Bev.
First of all, thank you for your balanced approach on the problem that bees are having. So much of what we read today, they point a finger and say, that's the problem and we have to fix it. And I do appreciate your work in looking at all the problems that the bees are facing. Here in West Grey, we have several parks from Saugeen Valley. We have the park here in Durham, there's Allen Park, and the headquarters down south of Hanover. And I'm sure that if you approach Saugeen Valley that we might be able to make room for you in our parks, and they're highly visible as well. At Allen Park, we do several training sessions out there with children through the schools, wren programs and deer programs, several things like that. They use it as an educational area, and I think it would be an appropriate place for you to have one of your gardens out there.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Bev? Councillor Cook?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I just, I don't think these particular locations are a good spot for them. I think but I think through the Parks Committee, and I believe you should do this well, you don't need to do the presentation, but you need to maybe discuss with the Parks Committee, in my opinion, different locations, because I think there are better locations than these that the parks could, maybe recommend. I'm certainly sure that the parks would be looking for a further commitment to maintaining it, because I've planted wild seeds in a lot of my contracts that I have, and they take a lot of maintenance and a lot of ongoing continued maintenance, I guess, watering, etc. They take a while to establish. They're not a 2-year project to establish if you're using wildflower seeds, which is what you're saying. So I think there needs to be a little bit more discussion about that, because if you're putting it in somewhere like in front of the arena, the parks is going to have to take it over, in which case it's the cost to the municipality, because they're not going to just let it go. If there's weeds coming up and everything, it's going to be maintained in a proper sense. So I think in my opinion, this needs to go through parks and work together with them and come up with a few better locations and see how that goes.
Okay, yeah, I did speak with Steve Earhart about the new park going up by the tennis courts, and so that's definitely a possibility. We're thinking of planting plants, not seeds, because seeds, can be a little iffy. So that will help with the establishment of the plants.
But even if you have a garden that is completely filled with flowers, you still get weeds.
Oh, sure.
And if it's in an area in West Grey that is visible, which is what you're requesting, then it needs to be maintained on an ongoing basis.
Right.
So that's something that needs to be discussed with the parks, because it would end up being the volunteers for the Parks Committee that end up taking care of it, by the sounds of it. So.
Right. Well, and then I think at that point we would just join that group of volunteers, and we would be those volunteers. We would continue.
That's maybe the way to go, is to go through the parks and maybe have 2 or 3 of you join the volunteers and work this into how the parks are being planted.
Yeah, I think the time frame of the establishment is more for those patches along the roadsides. I mean, if we're going to be putting these pollinator patches in quite visible areas in the community, then yes, we will continue the ongoing maintenance. I mean, if it's going to be just along the roadside, it will establish itself, and some weeds will probably pop up after a period of time.
Along the roadsides, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's where you're asking to have the visible gardens that the parks would want to have them maintained.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
So just that, I guess, like I definitely agree that there would have to be something worked out in terms of how it's going to be established after 3 years. You know, that's kind of a question mark. And I guess I would suggest that if we were going to be planting into an area that was already maintained by the township, that maybe the township would be able to, or you're saying the Parks Department be able to look after that area if they were going to be maintaining that area anyways with annual flower gardening and such, that they would be able to maintain these native wildflower areas.
So you're asking for a new area to be established with a plaque, et cetera, going on. So at this point, there is no area that is except in front of the community center, but I believe that has been designed and planned for.
Yeah.
So you're asking for a new area. So if you're asking for a new area, then there has to be a certain amount put in a budget to maintain it, because if it needs to be watered, we hire the water people, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nowhere that we just have a bunch of annuals that we can take out, and
Oh,
we don't
okay.
do that because that's too much maintenance. Like
Right.
we're trying to establish all perennials everywhere, so that every year there's less and less and less maintenance, but there's
Yeah.
still watering.
Yeah.
So, and deadheading to keep it looking good, so.
Yeah.
Except for Vickers Park, there's quite a few annuals there.
The which?
Vickers Park,
Yes.
so that's one location I had talked with Carol about, and she was in complete agreement to switch it over to more native perennial plants.
Carol?
Carol Freeman from the Horticultural Society, they're the ones that look after that one, and quite a few other gardens fall under their responsibility, as far as
Well,
I
no,
understand.
actually not quite a few. There's only a couple that fall under them, the rest are parks.
Okay.
So, but if you're going to work with the Horticultural Society, that's an entirely different aspect from working with the municipality in the Parks Committee. Horticulture is their own society, and if you can establish something with them and get a maintenance program with them, that's completely different than council. Yeah, but that is on municipal property as well, those horticultural gardens, so it would still have to kind of come through here, but they maintain and do all that, so that's a different aspect.
All right. Okay. Yeah, when I spoke with Patricia Black, she gave me the impression that the plants hadn't been ordered yet for that area. That's why we were...
No, they may not, but she's the chair of the Parks Committee.
Right.
But she does not have the authority to say it's going to be changed over midstream. It has to go through the Parks Committee to decide whether that would be a location or whether another location is fine. I mean, she doesn't have that authority to say that.
Right.
She might say that, yes, that could be an option, but she does not have the authority to say, yes, go ahead and plant it. So.
No, of course not, but she was just very open and suggesting that
But it
it
should
wasn't...
come through the parks, and
Right.
so maybe you could come to the next Parks Committee meeting or something and talk about that,
Yes,
I think
so-
we've got to the point there. I think that's the best place to go
Yeah.
to work with our parks and the horticultural.
Do you know
Certainly
when the
seeing,
next Parks Committee meeting is?
I'll know today. If you want to give me your phone number, then I can give you a call.
phone number, email, yep, we'll know that today. Okay. Is there any way, and what you were talking about was roadside, and what still amazes me, I guess it shouldn't because I do it myself, not only take the lawnmower and go down make one cut down to the corner and one cut back to the corner, but the amount of roadside that people keep maintained, cut the grass. You know, we're all into, society today is into cutting grass. And you go along and, I see individuals maybe they watch Tim the Tool Man too much, but they've got, you know, your 35 horse garden tractor with the bush hog mower on it, and you've got a 200-acre farm along the road, and the grass is cut from fence row to fence row, you know, the whole, and maybe not as much in West Grey because we have a bit of gravel deposit and it doesn't work well with some of those lawnmowers. But I was to London the other day, and a week ago, and the amount of grass that's being cut on the roadsides, and yeah, those native flowers, they're being cut down before the pollinators ever have a chance to get to them. We don't see, and I'm going to show my lack of horticultural, but Blue Devil and all of those, you know, Black-Eyed Susans and daisies and all of those flowers that used to grow wild on the roadside. No, now we've got, you know, I'm wondering, is there some type of an education that, you know, maybe having flowers growing on the roadside are a lot nicer and a lot more beneficial to the community and to society as a whole than having grass cut from the fence row out to the roadside. Dave's got the answer right there. Mr. Schuett, go ahead. Good.
See, a lot of the fence rows are gone. So
yeah, as well.
Corn plant, soybean plant, there's nothing for the bees. Where I like my bees is where the railway tracks used to be. They pollinate. They get a lot of food along there. Okay, so when the fence rows are gone, what's for the bees? So if this would take off, it'd be nice to have all our side roads, all nice flowers. It'd be very attractive.
Ken, it looks like you're going to be cutting a lot of brush and planting flowers. Obviously, we're not going to resolve the problem today, but Christine, I think you have the support of council going forward and working with the Parks Commission to start. Every journey starts with one step. You've taken the initial step here, and I'm reading from council that yes, is an excellent idea. And I'm taking it that your target is for next spring.
That would be ideal, yes.
Yeah. One of the other spots when I'm talking about cutting grass and whatnot is in front of the Ayton Arena. The Normanby Arena, incredibly, we have ice that goes into the Normanby Arena, and it sees not only a lot of local individuals, but with hockey schools, in the last couple of weeks there's been 120 to 125 participants in those hockey schools, each one throughout the week. Residents from 75 miles away have come to spend the week at these hockey schools, and the arena in Normanby throughout the summer probably sees more traffic in the summertime than the arenas in Newstead and Durham. So maybe that might be an option along the side of the for exposure there as well too.
Yeah.
Right on County Road 3. Can I put it that way, Bev? You will through the Parks Committee connect back and forth, and we'll get an idea of what support you're looking for as far as grant applications, property points, and we can work to make West Grey a patch of paradise.
That's right.
Okay.
Going back to pollinators.
Very good. Well, I thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead. Yeah, well, I've allowed everybody else, Dorothea, so absolutely.
No, I have my farm is pretty much a pollinator patch.
Right.
It's been organic for 30 years, and I leave all the fence rows, and I have lots of weeds and lots of flowers. And not to discourage all of that, but the problem is there were no pollinators this year. I had 1 or 2 butterflies coming through, and a couple bees or so. So there was lots of food there, but no bees. So I think it's a great idea. We should plant lots more flowers. I personally think we could plant them into the roadside ditches without preparing the ground, but just planting perennials into the ground, which would require less watering. This is just coming, and all these areas of larkspur and all that, that's planted into the ground or seeded into the ground. So anyways, that'd be a great idea. We've got to address that they are being killed, and that is I think Red Spray could do something, step forward and address these problems, not just creating more pollinator patches, but actually looking at why the bees are gone and why the pollinators are dying. And I know John Eccles was mentioning the farming thing.
Practices.
That the farmers are saying it's not all the chemicals that we're spraying and all of that, it's all kinds of other things. But the evidence is pointing more and more into that area. A few days after corn is planted or whatever, the bees are gone, the bees are dying. So pollinator patches, beautiful, but let's look at what is happening to the bees in the first place. Sorry, I just have to say that because it's great.
Yes.
It's a Band-Aid, it's wonderful, but my farm was pretty much devoid of pollinators.
Yeah, I know that there is a study in Guelph, with the university trying to identify situations, but from our perspective, putting more pressure on trying to find that solution or looking at agree with you fully. Dave, and then who's down here? John?
All the testing has been done last year. Out of all the testing, 70% of the bees had neonicotinoids on. On my results, 1 part per million on the bees. In my understanding, only 1 part per billion is enough to kill a bee. These are staggering numbers. So, just wanted to share that. We could go on and on, but
Yeah, and colonizing collapsion. But is there one? I'm not trying to defend one way or the other. Is it one that we can totally, and that will solve the problem? I think you'll agree with me. No, but there may be one that's a larger contributor than anything else. So if we can figure that one out, and then work on the rest of them. But I think the pollinator patch, to get the awareness to more than just yourself and Dorothea and a few other ones, we need to do something to get everybody in the community to protect this. John, last comment.
Can I forward this to Saugeen Valley for you?
Conservation Authority?
Yes. I'll just send them an email and tell them that you'll be in contact.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We're starting the plan and working together, and we look forward to continuing success and making this what it is.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. Does council want to take a few-minute break? Because I'm thinking that most of these people aren't here to rush the rest of council. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Very healthy discussion. Just gone through. And now we're down to the clerk's report. And Mark, you have a report here seeking council's direction on the resolution from the town of the Blue Mountains. Anybody have any comments on that one? I do have a resolution here. Councillor Eccles, John, here it comes.
Instead of each municipality continually passing these motions that they're unwilling hosts, why don't the municipalities all put a referendum together in our upcoming election and have the citizens of Ontario decide if the municipalities want to be willing hosts or not? And that, I think, would send a much clearer message to our provincial government on what they've done with the Green Energy Act.
Comments on election procedure? Mark, go ahead.
So if I heard you correctly, you want a referendum in the provincial election for a province-wide vote on that?
I think that's what he said. Carol?
Well, I think John's suggestion is a good one, but I think in the meantime, we need to also support these resolutions. Let's do a parallel thing.
You are going to be participating at AMO. It may be wise for you on Tuesday afternoon to find a seat very, very strategically. I would suggest near a microphone sometime in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock, when there is a session, and maybe get up and pose that question to the floor. Just a thought to promote your idea.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, or see one of the other representatives who are going to be there representing county interests that might be hogging the mic. You might be able to piggyback on some of their suggestions.
Any other questions or comments before I introduce the motion that I have in front of me? Don?
Just like to ask for a recorded vote, please.
Good call. Okay. I'll put this, can I put the motion forward? Yeah, I'll put the motion forward, then, yeah. The motion that is coming forward, Councillor Marshall has already asked for a recorded vote on it. The motion has been moved by John Eccles and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey, also declared as an unwilling host for wind turbines, hereby supports the resolution of the Council of the Town of the Blue Mountains, declaring the municipality as not a willing host for industrial wind turbines. And further, that a supporting letter be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Rural Affairs, and the aforementioned municipalities. Mark, if you'll take the recorded vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Bell?
Yes.
Councillor Cutting?
Yes.
Councillor Eccles?
Yes.
Mayor Eccles?
Yes.
Councillor Lawrence? Councillor Marshall?
No.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Declare the motion carried 6-1. Okay. All right, that moves us on down then, Mark, to a letter from the Regional Municipality of Halton, questioning the National Energy Board and their request for requirements from Enbridge and installing isolation valves on their pipeline. Does council want to make any comment or seek any comment on this? I'm going to take Councillor Cutting first. Bev?
Well, reading through this material, I think this is a very smart proposal. I believe that I don't know anything about pipelines. I don't know anything about carrying oil, but I do know that waterways are definitely, and water courses and lakes are definitely the, it's the final tragedy when something happens. If this would prevent to installing, shutdown valves on either side of water courses, if this would prevent any kind of spills or any kind of damage like that, because in the past we've seen that these are not easy to shut down once something happens. I believe that it should be supported. Sometimes the smaller municipal governments have to have a little bit of a kick in the butt to the province to do something about sometimes this kind of stuff, because they're not no be-all end-alls.
Well, I'm not so certain on this one is from the province,
No,
but this is, it's also the feds as well too on this one.
Same road
Yep.
lie up there.
Yep, upper tiers. John, Councillor Eccles.
In light of what we're going through with source water protection and the restrictions that are being putting in the smaller municipalities out here, this is a no-brainer, and I can't imagine that it hasn't been a regulation that's been enforced before now.
That's what blew me away.
Okay. I think we've got the motion coming forward here. Okay, any other questions on or comments on the report? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting and seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby supports the resolution of the Regional Municipality of Halton requesting the National Energy Board to require Enbridge to install isolation valves on each side of watercourses for the proposed Enbridge Pipelines Inc. Line 9 reversal. Any questions or comments on the motion? Bev?
Is this been circulated through AMO? Okay.
I'm imagining that's how
I
we got it.
didn't really see it, but I'm wondering if that's, okay, good, thank you.
Yeah. Would have been an AMO broadcast. Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried unanimously. Very good. And the next one, from the Conservation Authority, Mark, any other comments on this?
Yeah, there are some proposed dates that we're trying to arrange. One that's suitable for West Grey representatives. We're looking at Mayor Eccles, or Conservation Authority rep, Councillor Eccles, and myself, as well as Ken Gould, our Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, to meet with Don Smith, the Water Resources person for Saugeen Conservation Authority, as well as Wayne Broman, the General Manager. So hopefully we'll have one in the next week or so, a meeting to discuss this issue.
We'll at least have a time in the next week when we can meet. Bev?
Having read through this scenario, I came to the final paragraph, and it basically said, do nothing and just kind of see what happens. And yet, on the recommendation, it's talking about all these studies, et cetera, et cetera. Is it a true option to absolutely walk away and just...
That's how I read it, that we can continue if we want to do the spillway and the remedial work, then M&R, before they sign off, are going to require us to do this dam study.
And is this what you're going to discuss? Like, what is this? What your meeting is going to be?
Yes.
Whether the spillway and whether just to walk. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I wasn't. Yeah. All
John, did you want to comment from a conservation hat from the board?
The only difficulty is we do nothing and something happens, the blame all comes back on us.
Yes.
So we have to sit down and figure out what our risk happiness is on where we're going to be on what we're going to do.
But can I just? Go ahead. But the only way to do that is to do over $100,000 worth of studies. Am I correct? Before M&R will make any kind of commitment to yes it is or no it isn't.
I've asked them to see if they can find the records on the dam to see if it was engineered in the first place. Right. They're in the process of trying to find some of that stuff. And in some of this, we're trying to bring this study down several levels so it won't be $100,000.
And who's doing that discussion? The Conservation and M&R?
Well, we're going to get together to form a plan because Saugeen Valley doesn't want to handle this on its own because we are partners in this. So we have to decide as a council if we're going to go ahead. Saugeen Valley has to decide if they're going ahead, and then we have to have a kind of a unified approach as to where we're going with this.
To M&R?
Yes. Their big thing is that when we put the water back in the dam for the wintertime, that was a change of use for that dam. Well, we're going to strenuously argue that point because the thing always did have water in
Yes.
it before they suggested we take it out.
Yes.
So I don't know why we have to do a study.
And there was a very short period of time where it was taken out as opposed to where it was left in. So,
Yes.
yeah, there needs to be that clarification, definitely. But, what was I going to ask? There was another question I
No,
had.
we just have to put our ducks in a row before we go talk to MNR.
Oh, yeah, because basically this is all pertaining to the south spillway.
That's correct.
And so if we get an engineered study on the actual dam, do we not need, would that include the north-south spillways? No. So really, why is an engineered study on the dam going to do anything if it's the spillway that's causing this issue?
The money set aside to do the spillway work on the south side, the whole issue of this $100,000 study is to see if the dam will support holding water through the winter.
Jeepers.
Oh, so it's got nothing to do with the spillway?
But
Oh,
they
so
won't.
this is-
But they
this
won't
is-
release the funding for the spillway on the south end till we do the study to see if the dam will.
Okay, so this is standard government
Be polite.
beep beep. I'm being polite, beep beep. So this
Yes.
is, okay, all right, so I
Yes.
got it.
So
I thought so, I
But
just wanted to.
the only thing that we're trying to do right here is get the municipality and Saugeen Valley on the same page so we can go to MNR and defend our case saying this is ridiculous.
Okay. John, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, Councillor Eccles, the firm that, have you picked a firm to do the study yet? And are you working on former information done by a former firm about 4 or 5 years ago?
We haven't tendered the process out, and I think it was just a quick assessment as to what it would cost. We
Okay.
haven't tendered it.
And the reason I asked that, I remember vividly standing on that spillway a number of years ago with the former director of Saugeen Valley and an M&R engineer, two of them actually, and the one gentleman from M&R retired and went to work for this other company that was doing the study. So I know Mr. Senior, Mr. Don Smith might know that, but I would hate to see that person involved again.
Okay.
Put it that way.
Okay. So we're trying to arrange, I guess, what it is, and as John, Councillor Eccles has alluded, get together to see an attack, a way to approach, shouldn't use the word attack, approach M&R in an attackful way for this. The other aspect is I am trying to still arrange a conversation with M&R individuals in Ottawa, if it's possible, just to kind of communicate our uncomfortableness with this type of a study being proposed. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Good with that, and we'll see hopefully by next, I don't know whether we'll be able to have the meeting by next council meeting, but hopefully have a time set up where we can have a meeting with all parties involved. Any other questions of Mark? No? Okay. Then, Mark, I believe we're down to bylaws. So I'll ask you to, we'll send out the,
I'll explain the reason for that first.
resolutions to get those bylaws into place. Okay, we have 5 bylaws today. And we start the first bylaws this morning is starting with bylaw number 62, is a bylaw respecting the care of animals. Mark, did you want to make any further comments on that before we introduce the motion?
Yes, this bylaw might look a little familiar with council. I did report that Chief Berger had reviewed the draft bylaw and seemed to be okay with it. However, I guess in between that time and when the bylaw was passed, I did subsequently get a call from him, and he just felt there had to be should be another provision regarding the enforcement of the bylaw. So the only difference between the bylaw that was passed at last council meeting and this bylaw is section 5.1 regarding enforcement. So so in essence, that's the one change, and so the former bylaw is to be rescinded, and this one will in its place, just to make sure that the enforcement issue is covered fully.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that bylaw number 62, 2013, being a bylaw respecting the care of animals, be now read a first, second, and third time. Passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Councillor Cutting. Bev.
I do have one question. I know many farmers keep their animals inside a barn all winter, and it is cleaned out in the spring. How does that relate to 2.4 if somebody who is not familiar with farming practices, how does that relate to that?
I believe, there has been charges in the past of that from the care of animals, but they have police and or bylaw enforcement officers have the capability or the ability to phone in or ask for assistance from veterinarians and or commodity experts in that to certainly give them advice if they don't, and I hope that they would exercise that very carefully. So I think there's provisions in there for it to be recognized. I'm not think that there could.
A lot of people moving to the area that really have no idea how farming practices work, and this could be construed as one way. So as long as our people who are dealing with this bylaw understand how things work sometimes, and that the animals are not in distress, et cetera, then that's okay. But that could cause some issues, I think.
I think it's, but we have to be careful with our officers, that we give them the leeway. It's, we see that considerably, that there's individuals out there making allegations that speeding is a huge problem on a road. And it's at the discretion of the officer to do his best research.
But they're trained in that.
Yeah, they're trained in that.
Just
and I
reiterating that they use their resources that are made available to them.
Yes.
And not just go ahead and do it as an annoyance type thing, because that, and then that should be fine.
Okay. Councillor Eccles. John?
When I read through this, I had the same problem. And I pondered and pondered until I got to the exceptions on 3.1a, and it says, in accordance with reasonable and generally accepted practices. And I agree with you, it can still be used to point fingers at people, but hopefully our staff has enough common sense to say, if they don't know, go and get somebody that's knowledgeable enough that they can help them out.
So we'd certainly hate to see some of those horses that are standing out there in a snowstorm be picked on. Okay. Any other questions or comments on it? We're fine with that. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, bylaw number 63 is dealing with the Municipality of West Grey and Ontario Trillium Foundation agreement. I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 63, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into a letter of agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and the Ontario Trillium Foundation, Durham Girls Alumni Band, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor? And those opposed? That's carried. Bylaw number 64 is a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit, SMART. This one's coming forward because West Grey is already a member, but we're accepting 2 new members, so the documents have to be all signed again by all the municipalities to include Saugeen Shores and Huron-Kinloss. And I will say that we're hopeful in sometime in the near future that a couple of more of Grey County municipalities that may come on as partners as well too for this service. Any other questions on the bylaw? So I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 64, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit, SMART, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. No further questions. I'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Mark. Bylaw number 65. And this one was recommended from approval from the Planning Committee, Committee of Adjustment, for rezoning lands basically out here on Highway 4, just east of Durham in the township of Bentinck. Any questions or comments on this? Don, Councillor Marshall.
Was this supported by Grey County, or hasn't come forward yet?
It hasn't come forward to Grey County yet. I believe that's next Tuesday or next Thursday. Thursday is Planning Committee at the county. I think there seems to be some, I think there seems to be some positive comments towards this.
The county would wait to make sure it's actually passed as
Yeah.
recommended.
They, and they'll wait, county planners, staff will be making their comments once this bylaw's gone through. Okay, any other comments? So I have a motion moved by John A. Bell and seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that bylaw number 65, 2013, being a bylaw to rezone lands described as Part Lot 56, Concession 3, WGR, former Township of Bentinck, Wilson, Hopkins, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any other comments on the motion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, and bylaw number 66 is the one that come up in the Public Works, is the Connecting Link maintenance contract. with IMOS and the municipality on the connecting link in Durham. Any questions on that? I'll answer to Public Works. I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 66, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into a connecting link winter maintenance 2013-2014 agreement with the Owen Sound Highway Maintenance Limited, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Very good. That's it for bylaws, Mark. That brings us down then to number 13, new business. Yeah, we have a closed session matter coming up at 1 o'clock, but anyways, new business. John, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Just real quick, I guess just a reminder more than anything. It looks like the commenting period for putting in comments regarding the infrastructure in our roadside is due the 14th of August for anybody that wants to comment on that. So I was just looking at that a second ago, so I thought I'd bring that up.
Okay. One piece of new business I have, it's maybe just not as much new business, but looking at 2 weeks ago, I had an individual who heads a provincial corporation. Their business is here in West Grey, and wanted to use our video. He was making a presentation to the provincial committee and wanted to use our video that's on the website. And he said, you know, it was great. It was a little bit dated though. And he was wondering whether he could edit it a little bit. Well, we get into the discussion, and I had given him permission to use what you want. Doesn't matter. But what it brought up was it is dated. It was done in 2008, and wondered if council would be in support of going forward, probably through economic development, taking a look at it. There's, I think that's where it fits. There still is some funding, general funding in the economic development budget to do some updating of that video, or shoot a new one, promotional new one maybe. Technology has probably changed. It seems like it's changed in this council chamber now that we have all of this video stuff and everything going on here. There's probably different cameras and things like that that's out there, so maybe just editing it isn't an option, but just wondering about looking at options on doing that video. Carol.
Mr. Mayor, I certainly agree. It's very dated, and I wouldn't like to see us try to edit it and update it. I think we need a new one, and I think it needs to properly portray our municipality. We are agriculture, but we're also urban, and I'm not sure there was a good balance on that first one. I really think we need to maybe talk to a few people and what needs to be, you know, kind of involved or included in that, and you know, when we do hire somebody to do it. But I think I'd certainly support having a new one done.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that? It's surprisingly, with the tracker that's on there right now, how many views that video does get on a monthly, annual basis. I don't know whether we saw that on our website, but on the website hits that Eunice sent out the other day, and I was amazed. I'll use that word. I was amazed at the amount of traffic that comes through on our website and what people are looking for and where they're coming from as well too. Amazing. So having that video as I think is a pretty good idea as well too. Okay, well, we'll bring some of that forward for options and coming forward to council, or go through to economic development and bring it back then. Addendums, notice of motions. none that I'm aware of. One other thing that County Councillor Bell and myself should have been saying notice of motions. There was 2 notice of motions at county yesterday. One put forward by myself looking to form a consistent and uniform policy on road use agreements with wind turbines. And it did pass. Going forward, put that one of trying to get, as I said, basically what it is consistency. The directors have been working, the transportation director from the county, as well as the lower tiers. Transportation directors have been working. They do have, but they were kind of on their own out there because there was no direction at the county that they should be working on that, or it was something that we were for. So anyways, it did get passed. There was another one that came forward from another councillor on trying to impose, I guess it wasn't so much about imposing, it was directing that all entrance permits come through county council. And that if they were being changed to commercial and or industrial, the county council has the is the authority, and not being done by policy, but being done on an individual basis. That one was tabled until we see what's going to evolve out of the first resolution that I put forward and that it passed. So we tabled that one, and those were the 2 notice of motions yesterday at county, and I apologize for not bringing those up earlier. Carol?
On entrance permits, but a little bit different question. I noticed we got the emails about, what is it, 5 entrance permit requests from NextEra? Now,
Yes.
Where does that put us? Because, I mean, obviously they jumped right in as soon as we rescinded that bylaw. Are we now obligated to issue them under the 600 to 400 refundable? Or where are we at
There
now?
may be some legal aspects to that that I would like to discuss in closed session, so I'll
Okay.
bring that up
All right.
shortly to us when we
Okay,
go there.
thank you.
I think there is options to, we'll discuss those options in closed
Fine.
session.
That's fine, thank you.
Very good. Okay. All right. Instead of going right into closed session and then coming back out to question period, we'll skip down on that and go to question period. You're the last one here, Sam, so, you know, now's your chance. No? Very good. Okay. And there's no Municipal Act notices. I think what we'll do is adjourn for lunch, and after lunch, because it is here and it's hot, we'll have lunch and then go into closed session right after lunch. So thank you for your participation, and maybe that's a shutdown period for our technical guru out there as well too. Thank you, Adam.